Everyone,
This meeting is being held in accordance with the schedule of meetings adopted at the organizational meeting held January 4th, 2023. Adequate notice of this regular meeting of the Kenilworth Board of Education has been provided to the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, and the local source on January 12th, 2023. A copy has been filed with the Kenilworth Borough Clerk, posted in the Board Office, the Kenilworth Borough Hall, Brearley, and Harding Schools, as is provided by the Open Public Meetings Act.
thank you, Mr. Ganala. Please rise and join us in the salute to the flag. Thank you. Mr. Ganala, can we please have roll call?
Biner. David.
Here.
Drogan. Ferrara.
Here.
Haberther. Ladati.
Here.
Panici.
Here.
Tiers.
Here.
Zimmerman.
Here.
We have quorum.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ganala. At this time, we'll have receiving of the minutes. May I please have a motion to accept the receiving of the minutes from September 11, 2023? Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Ferrara, seconded by Mr. Haberther. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. Thank you very much. Mr. Ganala, do we have any public correspondence this evening?
Yes, we do have one item, correspondence. We have a memo from Joanne Rajapi, the county clerk, to all board secretaries regarding the school board election, proof of ballot for November 7th, 2023.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ganala. May I please have a motion to accept the monthly correspondence? Thank you. Second?
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Drogan, seconded by Mrs. Tiers. All those in favor of accepting the monthly correspondence, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion's carried, thank you. At this time, we'll now have superintendent's reports and presentations, Mr. Arlington.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Good to see you. To kick things off tonight, Mr. Davies is going to introduce and launch this year's set of student spotlights.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Arlington. Every year, the College Board, which is the company that oversees the PSAT, the SAT, the AP program, the College Board recognizes students who excel academically through what's called the National Recognition Program. And so this year, David Brearley High School has 3 students to recognize, and they are here with their families tonight. These students have achieved at least a 3.5 GPA or above, and have scored exceptionally high on their PSAT and or AP exams. So I would like to recognize those students right now. Starting off with Brianna Yadamarco. Brianna is a senior here at David Brearley, and she has been a member of the National Honor Society. She serves as the secretary. She's completed over 60 hours of community service via the NHS. She also is a writer for the Bear Print. She's a member of the Spanish National Honor Society as well, and she is part of the track team as one of our sprinters. Brianna has also achieved high honor roll and has advocated on her own to be part of the dual credit program here. She also, in her community, volunteers tutoring services to Spanish-speaking youth and works to help translate documents and create employment resumes in her free time. She's also a community service person in food, toiletry, and toy drives for families in need, and she also works part-time. Brianna is interested in pursuing a career in business or computer programming, and we're looking forward to seeing what comes of Brianna's senior year as well as where she heads off to in the future. Brianna was awarded with what's called the National Hispanic Recognition Award. So I want to congratulate and call up Brianna Yadamarco. Congratulations, Brianna. Also joining us tonight is Gabriel Moran. Gabriel is, similarly to Brianna, earning the National Hispanic Recognition Award. He has taken extremely rigorous courses all of his years here at David Brearley. Now he's a senior, taking advanced placement and honors courses. He excels in math and is doing a dual-enrolled Union County College course in calculus. He has actively participated in our school musicals and choir, Specifically, Gabe held one of the lead positions in Mean Girls last spring. Gabriel's also a member of the National Honor Society, the school newspaper, and participated in various community service projects. He's actively involved in his church, plays the piano, and translates as well for his youth ministry. Gabriel plans on studying math in college, and we are very proud of him as well, so I want to call up Gabriel Moran. And our third senior to be recognized tonight is Midgie Millord. Midgie has won the National African American Recognition Award. Midgie has also taken on extremely rigorous courses throughout her entire career here at David Brearley, and now she is a senior. She's taken advanced placement courses and honors courses. She's extremely passionate about the arts specifically. Midgie has dreams of pursuing a career in animation or graphic design and possibly becoming a movie animator one day. Midgie is also involved in a number of extracurricular activities, National Honor Society, newspaper editor, and various community service projects as well. Activities or after-school activities, Midgie is also a part-time worker at Dunkin' Donuts. So congratulations to Midgie Millord.
Okay, now is the time when all the parents get the opportunity to take those pictures you missed. Don't touch this clicker prematurely. Don't worry, they'll hold them for you, parents.
Parents?
Just one other note about all three of the students. All three of the students are bilingual, which I think is impressive. All three of the students are in the top decile rank of their class. And all three of the students have pushed themselves extremely hard here at David Brearley. So it's great to see such accomplishment from all three students. So congratulations again. And thanks for making us proud. I'd like to call up Nan Shah now, our student body president, to give his report to the board. Nan?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Mr. Davies. The first event here is the Spanish Heritage Night, which is Thursday at 5:30 p.m. This is our third annual Spanish Heritage Night, and it's invited, and we get to celebrate Hispanic cultures through live music, dance, and food. And there's also a salsa contest, which my mom has won, and she is coming back. She's coming back this year. Hopefully she can win a second title. And the annual homecoming ceremony will be held during this Friday's football game. The homecoming court was nominated by the faculty and voted upon by the students. The game is against Middlesex High School and will be at 6 p.m. Also, this Friday is the annual Spirit March and the pep rally during the school day. The high school homecoming dance is next Friday, October 20th at 7 p.m. And last year we had a record student participation, and this year we expect the same high turnout. This year's theme will be Hollywood Red Carpet, which is very interesting. And for the Spirit Week, it'll last from this Friday all the way to next Friday. And some highlights include this Friday the 13th, which will be really Pride Day, and as well as something new, which is Barbie versus Oppenheimer. I guess the people love the movies. And a busy day for Brearley is October 19th. It's a half day for the whole school, and it's split up into classes. The freshmen will be doing their post-secondary planning event, which will include a couple different sessions, some of which are Naviance, career interest inventory, transcripts, quality points, their GPA, and envisioning your future. And the 10th and 11th graders will be doing their PSATs, and the seniors will have a senior day, which will be just full of fun activities. There'll be class bonding activities, a class picture, and a picnic for the seniors. Market period 1 ends November 8th, and in terms of college and career planning, the seniors are busy with their meetings with their counselors currently. The college essay conference was fantastic. I attended the event, and October 18th is the college and career fair during the day for the high school students, and early action / early decision deadline is November 1st. That's all. Thank you very much.
Do any board members have questions for Nan?
Nope.
Okay, thank you, Lisa.
Give him some candy. Don't expect that every month, though. It was an extra one, so.
I am happy to have everyone stay, but if there was students who were honored as part of the Student Spotlight want to head out to study or do something else scholastic, now's a good time. Yeah,
In other words, you can
gonna be a long
not
meeting.
be free.
or not
You guys are
scholastic.
free.
Thank you, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
All right. Each year, by law, districts are required to report out to the public the results of last spring's state assessment scores and how our students fared. The assessment is called the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment Standards. And here to walk us through that presentation and take any questions are our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Sam Heipel, and our principals, Mr. Davies and Mr. Bobnowski. So the floor is yours, guys. Board members have the presentation in their folders. Because some of the numbers are hard to see.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming. We're here tonight to present an overview of the NJSLA scores from spring 2023. As an overview to NJSLA, it aims to assess the development of students' standing in correspondence to the level of academic standards. These results help determine strengths and weaknesses across subjects for our planning and teaching purposes overall, as well as identify strengths and weaknesses for individual students. For ELA, on each assessment, students read and analyze passages from authentic fiction and nonfiction texts. The test can also include multimedia stimuli such as video or audio. It also emphasizes the importance of close reading, synthesizing ideas within and across texts, determining the meaning of words and phrases in context, and writing effectively when using and/or analyzing sources. For math, students face a mixture of objective items assessing content and practice and constructed response items requiring the application of grade or course appropriate reasoning and modeling. The science standards require students to draw on their understanding of science and engineering practices, disciplinary core ideas, and cross-cutting concepts to make sense of phenomena or to design solutions to problems. You'll next hear from the two principals who will detail our scores, and afterwards we will share our continued plan of support for our staff and students. Mr. Bobnowski.
Well, good evening, everyone. So here's a snapshot of our ELA scores for both David and Brearley. But why don't you just take a minute to digest the chart and take a look across the rows. Let's first take a look at grades 3 through 6. The chart reads the first column as the grade level, the second column as the number of students who took the assessment, and then it progresses from percentage not meeting to percentage exceeding expectations. Note that in each column it also compares to the state average. Let's focus on levels 4 and 5. In grade 4, 35% met or exceeded achievement levels. In grade 4, 35% met or exceeded achievement levels. In grade 5, 56% met or exceeded achievement levels, which exceeds the state average. And in grade 6, 42% met or exceeded expectations. Before Mr. Davies comes up and shares David Braley's results, I'm going to move on to Harding's math results. So this chart here shows our math results. Again, take a minute to review the chart. This chart is set up in the same way, where the first column reads the grade level, the second column, the number of students who took the assessment, and then again it progresses from percentage not meeting to percentage exceeding expectations. As you take a look at the chart, I'll highlight the scores, again with a focus on levels 4 and 5. Third grade, 41% met or exceeded expectations. Fourth grade, 50% met or exceeded expectations. And in fifth grade, 54% met or exceeded expectations. And in sixth grade, 30% met or exceeded expectations. As you study this math chart, you'll notice that several grade levels are exceeding the state average. After Mr. Davies shares David Braley's results across the chart, Sam will share our plan of support.
Thanks. So going back to ELA, thank you, Mr. Bobnowski. You'll note there, again, we're going to focus on levels 4 and 5, which are the far right two columns. You'll see that added together, 41% of our 7th graders at David Braley are meeting or exceeding expectations. Next row down with the 8th grade, you'll see 45% are meeting or exceeding expectations, and in the 9th grade, 46% are meeting or exceeding expectations. So again, I just took those two columns, the level 4, level 5, to add those up to see where our students are in terms of meeting or exceeding. Moving forward with math, again, the far two right columns, meeting and exceeding expectations in 7th grade, 21%, 8th grade, 9%. Algebra 1, because at the high school level it changes from grade level to subject area. Algebra 1 is 22% are meeting or exceeding expectations. Geometry, 15% are meeting or exceeding expectations. And in Algebra 2, 27% are meeting or exceeding expectations on NJSLA math. Speaking of math, I wanted to just give you a sample of what our students see and what our teachers teach. So this is a sampling of the types of questions our students see on the NJSLA for Algebra 1. The skills that we have identified along with our teachers where our students need the most support is the skills of modeling and reasoning. So you'll see some examples there on the screen for you. Sam's going to go into further detail about our plan moving forward, but know that our math teachers are currently very vigorously attacking those skills of modeling and reasoning in their classrooms, and they're going to continue to do so throughout the entire school year leading up to the May 2024 NJSLA test administration. So these are examples in Algebra 1, and the next slide is similarly geometry examples. This is what our students see as test questions on the NJSLA. We have found that the way in which the questions are worded on the NJSLA don't always match the way in which those questions are presented in math textbooks or in some curriculum materials. So again, our math teachers are very interested in this and concerned to make sure that our students have a good familiarity with those test questions. So they're presenting these actual NJSLA worded and constructed questions in their daily lesson plans currently, and will continue to do so throughout this entire year leading up to the May administration. We want to make sure our students have a very firm grasp, not just on the skill, but on how the questions are worded on the test. because sometimes they might know the skill, but the wording is tricky. We want to make sure that our students are proficient with both the skill and the test's presentation wording. Sam's going to take us steps further into science.
All right, so this is just a quick snapshot of the science scores. So just note that the science scores are scaled differently from ELA and math. They range from 100 to 300. Most of our students fall in the level 2 category of limited or near proficiency. But if you take a look at the proficient column, we are around the state average. This is a very difficult test. Oops, I'm jumping. Okay. So let's take a look at the next steps of what we are taking, what we are doing at the schools to help support our teachers and students. So at Brearley, we've partnered with the math department to enact a sense of instructional urgency. To that end, we are focusing on skill-based instruction through maintaining skill practice sessions to ensure that students have the prerequisite skills before teaching new units. As Mr. Davies mentioned, the teachers are using sample NJSLA test prep questions, and they are also modeling high-level problems daily to take us and push us past this approaching level. We're scheduling professional development for science and math, and this year at the middle school, the new science curriculum, Amplify, started this year. It is rigorous and exciting. As always, we meet regularly with the teachers to share feedback and support classroom instructional practices. There are new ELA and math standards in draft right now. We've doubled the ELA block at the middle school to allow for more in-depth studies and practice of reading and writing skills, and we're exploring and will be piloting new math programs to help align our instruction. At Harding, many of our teachers are attending professional development and math workshops that are supporting work across standards. One teacher last week shared with me that the workshop opened her eyes to a better way to teach a skill that she went back and retaught her class and saw it immediately in practice. These workshops will continue throughout the year and into next. Each grade level is also paired at the workshops with a coach so they can have support transferring the skills into the classroom if they would like. For ELA, our teachers just finished their first day with a new staff developer around process-based reading and writing planning to increase time that students are independently engaging with text. There will be a few more days across the year of this as well. The ELA teachers will also start to show some of these NJSLA type questions to their students to help them understand what these types of questions are asking them to do. New this year in February, each teacher at Harding will meet with me to review their students' data and plan for tailored instruction so every student gets what they need. Thank you so much for your attention, and thank you to the teachers for embarking on all of this great work.
Thank you, guys. Somebody at the board level have questions?
So for the lower grades that, the charts that were presented, I can appreciate that you were focusing on level 4 and 5, but I'm more concerned or interested in levels 1 and 2, and in particular, grade 8.
Yeah.
And so do we have an understanding or an explanation for why that is so much above where everyone else is?
So grade 8, there are a couple factors that we talked about before this of why this might be the case. I do also want to note just that although we are 9%, the state is 18%, so it's not a huge gap, which actually there's like, you know, the gaps range in the grades as well. But Mr. Davies was going to talk about that.
Yeah, one of the pieces of data just to be aware of is if you look at the tested number of students in the second column there, it says 86. That is lower than the number of students in grade 8. Some of our strongest math students are taking Algebra 1 as 8th graders. So that number is lower partly as a result of that.
Right, but that doesn't help or explain the students who aren't in algebra.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
there's still something going on that they would perform that much worse.
Yeah.
You have 75% in level 1 and level 2,
Right.
where every grade before that is 34, 26, 22. So that, I mean, that number jumped out at me immediately.
Yeah.
when I saw that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess for what it's worth, it's not that far off from the state average, but that's not why we're here, right?
Right.
Of course not, and we want our students to be doing well, and this is something we obviously talk about on a very regular basis of what we're doing, which is why we shared the plan of, we have met with the middle school math teachers and the high school math teachers with a very strategic plan in place of what we're asking them to do this year to help try and close this gap, including those, the kids are enrolled in these like Khan Academy courses where they're maintaining their skills, meaning if like a loss of skills has accumulated over time for some of these kids, before we go and launch into these new units and the kids are battling to be successful in them, we're taking these like mini units to bulk the kids up to make sure they understand the prerequisite skills before we launch into the unit to hopefully have more success. That's a research-based practice, as well as some of these test questions. It really is true, if you compare them with our current math program, the way that they're asked on the test did seem very foreign to a lot of the kids, and we've interviewed some kids and the teachers around them. And then third, we are looking at whether or not this is the right math program to move our children. We tomorrow have 2 companies coming, Thursday have 2 companies coming. I have a group of pilot teachers, so we are learning about our options as we're also, the standards are changing a little bit because clearly the state is having an issue with them as well. So we think about this and talk about this all the time and appreciate the questions.
I would just highlight too, above and beyond the programs, what I heard you say is like an investment in people, right? So professional development, meeting with teachers around their specific student performance data, because a program is a program is a program, right? But it's more like the practices around that program that matter, and that I think need to be examined with the sort of instructional urgency that you guys started off with.
Yeah, and we had communicated with our math department over the summer on the opening days of professional development before school started. We had specific meetings with math teachers specifically about these numbers. Every math teacher received their own individual scores of their students from the previous year.
Yeah.
So it is something that we are drilling down into and targeting as to why.
And just out of curiosity, what would be the next measurable event where you could see progress, hopefully progress from these numbers shifting more from the left to the right? Like, is there, I mean, I assume that we take them in the spring again, right? But is there anything in between those 2 events?
Yeah,
Yes.
3 different points throughout the course of the year. Our teachers deliver benchmark assessments for specifically 8th grade. That's the STAR assessment, which is aligned to the standards, which is aligned to
Okay.
the tests. So 3 different times before May, our students will be taking that benchmark and we will analyze that data to see where are they as we approach the May NJSLA test.
And those benchmark assessments are, they show where our students are in their readiness skills towards the standards that we're assessing. Of course, there are also the internal assessments that the teachers are using in their classroom that we're having regular meetings with them about.
I think also particularly at Harding, there are data teams that also take up this work for this sort of sense of shared, as you would say, shared efficacy or collective responsibility around this data. And I think those data teams are an important component in making sure like this data is actually used for instructional purposes.
Yeah, so it's a team that gets together that takes a look at all of our assessments from K to 6 at Harding in particular. And they go through and they look at where each of our children are, and it helps us make small groupings in all of the classes and all of the grades to target the different tiers of instruction. So tier 1 is classroom instruction, and then kids that might need a little extra instruction in small group, whether it's in class during our win time or pulled out. We have these teams of individuals that look at it, and then what they do is they look at the bigger strands of where our kids are having difficulties progressing, and they plan tier 1 teaching points together for the whole grade so that the teachers can focus on their individual kids in their tier 2 small groups. It's in our third or 4th year. Yeah.
Sam and Jeremy, I have a question. There's something that kind of stands out. So I know we've been working as the school and a board and the tiered support. After school tutoring, there's tutoring during the day, all of these components. I think about 2 important things. One, have you guys surveyed the students or spoke to them, or, in a survey Microsoft form, and kind of polled them on their points of confusion and where they think they need support? I think that could be helpful for the students, and even also for this tiered approach that we have for helping the students close this gap. I know that we have a lot of resources for the parents, and we've been doing all different types of PTOs, possibly polling the parents or doing some kind of videos or helpful ways that the parents can not only support what we're doing in school, maybe parents don't know, hey, how do I help my child if they're struggling? So, talking to the students, polling them, you may have done that already, but trying to see if you can get some information from them, like where do you think that you need help? Where do you think you need skills? So the parent part and also the student part, has that been something that's part of this?
So-
Something maybe we want to do?
Tomorrow night, I'm having a K-2 curriculum night at Harding, and the following week, a 3 to 5, and there is a portion on it about what can you be doing at home to be supporting, and, obviously I'll be getting feedback, but through I know it's not about, necessarily the program, but through trying to find a program that matches the process and the skills that we are trying to teach, there is a parent survey component to it that we're in the middle of developing to get feedback so we can hear what's happening at home too with what kids are struggling with, as well as obviously there's a heavy feedback component from the teachers, and in the upper grades there is a student feedback form as well. So that's all coming this year in phase 1 of our rethinking our math program.
Student survey.
There is a student survey as well.
And parent, what they think their child could benefit from, or us, to help them with these programs at home. I think it could be meaningful to ask students and parents, because it's not just what's happening with our PD here, but it's gonna go, home, and asking the students is important. That's where I get my most information. at
It will
work.
be a
It's
full
talking to
360
them, and
review for sure.
they can give honest feedback as to what they think they need, and if they think like, hey, the online tutoring isn't helpful, I don't know what I'm doing, there could be some good data that we can pull from the students to see what they think they might need. Could help us along, or,
Thank you.
Yeah.
And in terms of data and polling the students, what about the teachers? Have we been speaking with the teachers to find out what areas of weakness they perceive? Because I know through my daughter's years going through Brearley, it was a constant thing that I heard over and over again from the math teachers, the issue with fractions. The kids getting to the high school and grappling with the understanding and the ability to handle fraction equations, which then rolls over into the algebra and everything else, trying to solve those equations. Is that still something that we're struggling with, that, somewhere along the line, that gets lost?
So teachers have been vocalizing. So as I said, we met with them before school even began to talk about these specific results on the NJSLA. And at the middle school and high school level, at least, we have 2 PD days coming up, one on October 19th, our half day, and then also October 31st. And we're focusing on math instruction, specifically with our math teachers.
Yeah, just to supplement that, can you quickly talk about, I've never been in a district where the kids didn't struggle with fractions, right? That complex topic, I always hear that. Can you talk a little bit about, Sam, the space, mediating the space between needing to follow an Algebra 1 curriculum, but also needing to fill in these like fundamental skill gaps around things
Right.
like fractions that kids may not have. So I'm a teacher now, and I'm expected to follow this Algebra 2 scope and sequence, yet I find that my kids can't find square roots or add fractions, which therefore they can't access the Algebra 2 curriculum, but the teachers are expected to go through it. Like that space between like where we are and where we need to be.
That's a difficult space for the teachers,
Yeah,
and
sure.
always being a teacher at heart, and we struggle with this because we say like we don't want to push too fast and then push the kids so they're just struggling the whole way, but we don't want to slow down too much that they can't, reach the point that we want to at the end of the year, so then this just accumulates to the following year. So we have looked around, there's an extra math period that they've implemented, a math lab period in the middle school this year as well. And that has given at least the middle school an extra period a week where they are able to do some of that, some of the prerequisite skills to try and close the gaps to make sure the kids can be successful. We have
that lab period, we modeled it after how some schools have like a science lab period. We took that and put that into the math program so that middle school students meet with their math teacher 6 times per week. And we believe that extra period is going to really help with this tug of war that our teachers truly do struggle with. And it is, their struggle is real, and they're very conscious of it. And they're very dedicated to making sure that they're teaching those skill gaps while also proceeding forward in the curriculum.
So we've asked them to take time. There were different ways. We said you could do like these like mini boot camps before each unit. You could take Fridays to be like, you know, fact fluency and maintaining your skills, or you could take 10 minutes at every period. We did leave that up to how they best fit as the experts in math of how that would fit into their instruction.
Sure.
But they are 100% working on that balance, which is a hard balance.
Yeah, thank you.
So it's the same thing going for, I mean, we're kind of below even on meeting expectations from 7th grade through meeting and exceeding through Algebra 2 also. So kind of the same game plan.
It's the same game.
And what are we doing wrong? I mean, you know, a lot of schools in Union County are scoring high or getting bigger numbers than us, and obviously some of them are 15 to 44%. What are we missing? Where's the miss? I mean, we've been throwing, as a board, I've been on this board for a while, we've been throwing a lot of money at math and books and new math programs, and nothing seems to be sticking, and I'm not sure where the miss is, Jeremy.
As Mr. Arlington stated, we have moved a little bit past just talking about the programming to making sure that we are investing in supporting the teachers in the standards and the best practices around how to deliver them. So that's one shift in our thinking of how we can make a shift.
Okay. I know you
Also,
guys
as
are
a
working
team-
at it.
Yeah, as a team this year, we've been talking a lot about how high achievement only happens in a framework of high expectations. So what are the expectations we hold for ourselves as a leadership team in supporting teachers, and what types of expectations do teachers have of their students, and how might we come together in this sort of multifaceted way as a community to expect high achievement, which means having high expectations for kids. Saying, kids, you can do it. Like, we're gonna get you there, and I'm gonna support you in getting there. And so I think building that culture of high expectations is something that we've been working on a lot this year, and figuring out how to unpack that.
And one of the ways that we're doing that, I had spoken about before, is just making sure that we're exposing all of the students to these higher level thinking problems, even if their skill set isn't there yet. So as we're teaching up towards the skill set the whole time, we've been modeling these higher level problems so that when their skill set does build up to it, they are ready and have seen model after model after model to help close and push us over that, that level of proficiency.
You talked about earlier too in our kind of dry run of this presentation, like really trying to make the case for higher order thinking every day, right? Every period, all the time.
I just wanted to add that, you know, in math, everyone, the average scores is all positive. Language arts as well. And a big, you know, congratulations to the 5th grade teachers and students. They were 14% above state average in math and 3% above in ELA, so it's a big thing.
We're looking to get a curriculum committee date on the calendar. I think I said that in a Friday update, so
Yep.
Sam will join us and we can continue this conversation there too.
Okay. Anyone else have questions for the leadership team?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much for answering all
Thank
the
you, guys.
questions, presentations also.
Yeah, HIB, thank you. All right, as you're aware, there's one case of HIB for the month of September that was founded at Brearley. The full report of which you have there, and I wrote to you a little bit about it last night, just providing some additional context. Happy to give you a minute to review that. I think for the most part, what you'll find there is alignment between what I shared yesterday and what The anti-bullying specialist at Brearley, Assistant Principal Witchell, wrote that for you.
Anyone have questions?
Yeah, did this go out to the whole school or just to click that made this?
It was on social media, so anyone who had access to social media and followed the page had access to the Google form.
So you have no idea how many might have been seeing it?
No.
Anyone else have questions, or you need another minute to review? No?
Just to note that later in the meeting, you'll be the report I shared last month, which was a review of the cases from August. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Anyone have any additional questions for Mr. Arlington before we move on to report of committees? Okay, at this time, we'll have report of committees, review of resolutions, and board discussions. First up is Finance, Facilities, and Negotiations, Mr. Ladati.
Okay, so the committee met earlier this evening. We went over, it's budget season, so we went over budget timelines and goals. One other thing we spoke about were with no bank cap and a deleted surplus and cost, the budget's going to be very, very challenging this year for us to get something approved or even below the 2% cap, so it's going to be very difficult. We also discussed the status of the referendum projects. Resolutions 10 and 11 are going to be approved this evening or voted on this evening. And once we get those approved, all major projects will have been awarded. Let's see, Mr. Ganell indicated in his email earlier today, the board received notice yesterday that a low bidder withdrew their proposal. The second lowest bidder accepted that bid, and after a legal and technical review, inspection did pass. For resolutions, there are 17 tonight, for you kind of to approve, review, or reject. The first three are the normal standard monthly resolutions that include Mr. Arlington's report, which he just gave, the billing list, and the financials. I reviewed each of those. I found them to be in order with no outliers. 4 is line item transfers. There were none over our 5,000 cap. 5 are conferences and workshops for the staff. 6 is the field trip to the firehouse for the kindergarten class. That's always a great trip for everyone, if you have your kid gone through that. 7 and 8 are payment for the contractors. I reviewed the information that I was supplied and suggest the payment is proper and should be approved. 9 is health and safety evaluation of the buildings report. 10 is additions and alterations on the referendum. Mr. Anella sent out that email about the lowest bidder. That's what that's all about, I just spoke about. 11 is the acceptance for the bid for the auditorium, and it also includes the science labs. 12 is the annual board workshop. 13 is the environmental safety program, basically identifying and plan to dispose of hazardous waste materials. 14, 15, and 16 include basically plans, the district nursing plan, pest plan, and maintenance plan. And 17 is nursing services. Those are just for subs, right, Vince?
Correct.
And in case we need a sub-nurse at like 60, I think it's $60 an hour. So that's it for the resolutions for the finance. I have nothing on negotiations. We do plan on meeting as the committee soon to start that process. And that's all I have. So I will field questions, or Mr. Canelo will field some of the questions if I can answer them.
Anyone have questions for Mr. Ladati about finance and business?
Negotiations already.
No questions, okay? No? All right, we'll be moving on. Thank you very much, Mr. Ladati. Up next will be Personnel Management, Mr. Haverhill.
Thank you. There's 7 resolutions tonight, pretty much all straightforward. Resolution 18 is the approval for AM lunchroom aides and paraprofessional aides. Resolution 19 is a change to 8 hours. Resolution 20 is the approval of additional teaching sections for the 23-24 school year. Resolution 21 is approval of additional teaching sections. Resolution 22 is the approval of 23-24 co-curricular stipend positions. 23 is the approval of student teachers. And 24 is the approval of substitute staff. And then I have, under Resolution 26, there are some policy reviews, changes, which I'll go through right now. Policy 3161, the examination for cause is revised. Policy 4161, examination for cause, revised as well. Policy guides 3161 and 4161 have been rewritten to better outline the process a school district must use when a Board of Education superintendent wants to require a physical or psychiatric examination of a school district employee whenever a staff member shows evidence of deviation from normal physical or mental health, to determine the staff member's physical and mental fitness to perform within reasonable accommodation the position the staff member currently holds, or to detect any health risks to the students or other staff members. Policy guides 3161 and 4161 provide procedure for the board/superintendent to request a staff member undergo an examination that is consistent with the statutes, administrative code sections, and applicable case law. Procedures outlined in policy guides 3161 and 4161 must be followed when a board requires a staff member to undergo a physical or psychiatric examination. And policy 3212, attendance is mandatory, that's revised. Regulation 3212, attendance, that's mandatory, and that's revised. Policy 4212, for attendance, that's manual and also revised. Regulation 4212, attendance manual revised as well. The legislation signed on July 3rd, 2023, revising NJSA 18A 30-1 and NJSA 18A 30-4 expanded the allowable use of sick time for school employees. Revisions in this recent legislation required revisions in a policy and regulation guides 3212 and 4212 that address staff attendance. Policy guide 3212 for teaching staff members and policy guide 4212 for support staff members have been revised to reference the revised statutes and new policy regulation guides 1642.01. It is a quality single accountability continuum, otherwise known as CUSAC. District performance review, DPR, requirement that board have staff attendance policy and maintain accurate staff attendance records for certified staff, teaching staff at school district and school levels, and records must include the type and date of absences and analysis of attendance patterns, and that any issues identified throughout the analysis of staff attendance has been addressed in accordance with the district's staff attendance policies.
Thank you. Any questions?
This was revised in 2000, it looks like 07 and 22. Did something happen with this? Are we not keeping perfect records? I don't
It was the
understand.
state change in the
State.
policy, state of New Jersey.
A law, there was a new, more expansive law,
No,
so
I know.
policy needed to be revised to match the language of the law.
I would realize it was mandated, but I just wondered, were we not doing that pretty much anyway?
No, we were doing.
I guess some weren't, which required, that's why they made a law. I was just like, what? I thought we were.
What?
Years ago, I used to work in attendance in the regional, and they really kept pretty good records, so I'm just wondering the mandate, what would have caused that to happen now?
I don't think the policy change is a result of the district, it's just throughout the state.
Okay,
The
I
CUSAC, the
realize.
DPR has always been a DPR as long as I remember, so I think it's just saying it aligns now to the new policy and reg, which is based on the broader sick leave, sick day law.
Also, the homeless, education of the homeless children and youth, was there a big change in that was mandated?
The
We have
change
this.
is, I'll let Ms. Tiers read that at her committee section, and then I'll answer that, sure.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Haberther before we move on to curriculum and instruction? No? Okay, thank you, Mr. Haberther. We'll now move on to curriculum and instruction, Mrs. Tiers.
Resolution number 25 is the acceptance of the HIB report from August of 2023. And then there is a policy revision. We have policy 5116, education of homeless children and youths. So it requires enrollment for up to 2 school years of students who were made homeless and forced to move out of the district as a result of a natural disaster or a terrorist attack. Also, the Administrative Code Chapter NJAC 6A 17 revises the term homeless child to homeless child and youth.
So those were to answer your question, those were the 2 big revisions, right? Including the term youth in the policy, and then also making an allowance for youth, children who are homeless as a result of a natural disaster.
Okay, wasn't that always the case? There
No,
was a
so
problem?
not the natural disaster, a terrorist attack, and
I just,
not the term youth as part of homeless child.
okay. 'Cause I worked with that, and if you were homeless, well, we've talked many times, so if I had a homeless child, they had to be able to go to school here.
Yes, but this is
Whatever.
just adding in also that if there was a natural disaster
Okay.
or a terrorist attack.
I mean,
that-
right, we
I
have,
mean,
and
we
we have a
have done that
homeless.
anyway, is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
we have a homeless liaison, Ms. Kuklo, and she's on top of it.
Well, the question I have is, okay, so let's say it is caused by a natural disaster, hurricane, like it was down in Louisiana. So are those school districts where they came from pay for the kids?
We do get aid, we would get.
So we would get basically like a choice,
We do.
okay, so we would get compensated for, okay.
And conversely, if it was, if a child is within New Jersey, is homeless, that the responsibility falls on the sending, the
Correct,
district
that's
where
what
they
I'm saying,
came from.
where they came from, right,
Right.
so, okay.
Thank you.
Resolution 27 is to abolish the P 5460.02, the Bridge Year Pilot Program. It's now being abolished. So it's the New Jersey Department of Education published the Bridge Year Pilot Program implementation guidance on January 1st, 2021. The last graduating class to be eligible to participate in a bridge year would have been the graduating class of 2022. The class of 2022 would have completed their bridge year during the 2022-2023 school year. Policy and Regulation Guides 5460.02 should be abolished as students are no longer eligible to elect to participate and or currently participating in a bridge year pilot program after June 30th of 2023. And then finally, we have Resolution 28, which is the acceptance of the Hibbs School Self-Assessment Report for the 2022-2023 school year.
Ms. Steers, anybody have questions on curriculum and instruction? No? Okay, thank you very much. We'll now move on to old business. Anyone have any old business?
Michelle,
No?
just curious how we're doing with the TAB committee situation.
I rehearsed a response to it.
I thought you might have.
In the spring, I sent the KEA's new leadership, the regulation that governs the TAB committee. I assume behind the scenes, they're organizing their group. I see my colleague shaking her head, so I will connect with her to see where we are with that. But they have the information.
Thank you. We wanted to remind everybody to please check the Friday folders for upcoming events and things that are happening in the district. And Mr. Arlington mentioned it last meeting, but he did put out a series of HIB videos and things that were helpful to parents for some of the repeated concerns that we see at the schools that we thought could be helpful for parents. Next is new business. Does anyone have any new business?
Old business. I was at the football game. That they retired number 71, and that was really wonderful. It was a beautiful football game, and we won, so that made it better.
Thank you to Mr. Miller, too, for organizing that event.
Okay, new business? Any new business? We wanted to just make a quick thank you to all the families and team members for back to school night. We got great feedback from parents that the environment was very welcoming and they were able to have an opportunity to go into school, so we wanted to thank everyone for organizing that. At this point, we will move on to open up the meeting to the public.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mrs. Zimmerman, seconded by Mrs. Tiers. All those in favor of opening the meeting to the public, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, ayes have it, motion's carried. Mr. Goodell?
Yes, public comment will now be accepted. The Board of Education sets the limit for the public to speak at a Board of Education meeting to 5 minutes per person unless prior permission has been granted by the Board of Education for extended time pursuant to Board Policy and Bylaw 0167. For the record, when you approach the podium, please indicate your name and address prior to making your comments.
Thank you. At this time, any public that would like to comment, please step up.
How you doing? Andy Rivera, 18 Epping Drive, here in Kenilworth. Just wanted to start by saying I don't see any candy there for me, but you know. I'm sure you guys are aware of what's been going around on Facebook regarding the anti-bullying show, for lack of a better terms, that took place last week. I have a couple articles here that are regarding the people involved, and especially the main character. The guy's name is Jim Linehan. He goes by J Line. He's a music artist. We spoke to Mr. Bobnowski outside. He assured us that this was not going to happen again. So that kind of gives me some relief. Thank you, Mr. B, for that. The main thing that I'm concerned with is there a vetting process when we have someone coming from outside to put on performances, deal with the kids, anything like that?
Yes.
What is that process?
I don't know it offhand, but I can get it. I can make that public.
If you can get that, because I'm gonna pass around pictures, I'm gonna give you a trigger warning. This is very easily accessible.
It needs to go to the board president.
Okay. It's very easily accessible from a simple YouTube, Google search. My concern is that our kids may like their performance and want to find out more about them. That's the guy who heads the team. Really, I mean, if there was any type of real vetting done, I would think that wouldn't be allowed. That's my biggest concern. I don't know what the context of the actual show was. Seems like it was okay, but there's also been a couple of things my own daughter had said. There was a situation where Jim got up on a chair and was kind of gyrating in an uncomfortable way, the way she described it. I've also heard the same from other kids. Just want to make sure that we're vetting so we can ensure that we're not having people like this in front of our kids. Whether or not that was the intent of the show, that doesn't matter to me. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. We will review. Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Shari Brennan. I live on 19 North 21st Street in Kenilworth. I am the sole parent of two fourth graders, twins Paul and Peyton, and they just turned 9 in the summer. And I'm here to ask for your help, or at least let you know that my son Paul, is struggling very hard because of things that happen in Harding School to him. Last year in 3rd grade, I have 3 incidents written down where he was attacked by other kids, whether in gym, in recess. In one incident, he was hit with an uppercut to his chin, and he chipped his adult tooth, which had to be shaved down. He's been hit in the head. He's been hit in the back, which meant that he was leaving the situation when somebody hit him. He was hit in 2nd grade after school on the Harding playground by a 4th grader. He was kicked in the groin to the point that he was in so much pain that the doctor that I called sent us to the emergency room. He has several incidents of this, and each one of them has been reported and supposedly dealt with, but it continues to happen. And the children that do it are the same ones over and over. I just hear the same names over and over. I made sure this year that they're not in the same classroom, but it is not fair to my son who has problems sleeping. He can't sleep. He's so concerned to go to school. He has problems eating. He is in an environment that is not conducive to learning. I won't mention these other children's names, but it's the same ones over and over. We took a break this summer and we went to Roselle Park for their summer camp instead of the Harding camp, which we've actually never attended. One of those perpetrators also went to the Roselle Park summer camp, but that disciplinarian dealt with it perfectly, and my son was not hit, not one time in the entire 8 weeks. He had a pleasant summer and it was great. But then we come back to Harding, and here it was last Friday, and he got hit by one of those kids again. And he was walking in a hallway, the other kid was walking in the hallway, and he just smacked him in the head. And my son has never hit another kid in Harding, but I don't know what to do anymore. Here's the start of 4th grade. I can't have a repeat of 3rd grade for this poor boy. This is not right. He's struggling academically and he's struggling emotionally. And we have to go to this school. I can't take him out because I can't move. Catholic schools are all booked up around here because I've looked into leaving. I need help with my son. The standardized test that we just looked at, he's in the worst sections of it. So we're not having a good situation here at all. And his poor sister, who is a twin who accompanies him, she sees it all and she's disturbed by it as well. So Paul now has taken to being fearful of me when I reprimand him at home. He gets all shaky and he backs up because he thinks he's gonna get hit. I don't hit him, he gets hit at school. The poor kid needs to go to school and not get hit. I don't know how to protect him anymore. And this weekend, twice, he and his sister have ridden their bike the 3 blocks to the Harding playground and have been surrounded and attacked by groups of older children. My son's helmet from his bike was ripped off his head and thrown and smashed. He was knocked off his bike, and then on Monday, yesterday, he was surrounded and the older kids tormented him, making him cry, making him get hysterical, and they were filming the whole thing. So if you're looking on YouTube, maybe it's there. I don't know. I'm not in middle school, so I can't hunt down what these kids are doing. This is just not safe for my children, and I don't know what to do anymore. I'm not getting any resolution. 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade. It just keeps going. And is any of this going to actually fall into HIB? The only thing that I think might be different is that my poor children don't have a dad. Is that the only reason that they're getting picked on? I don't know. They don't have any of the other things that are described in your HIB notices that are on your website. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I need to not have a repeat of 3rd grade again. So I'm asking for help.
Mrs. Brennan, thank you so much for your comments, but the 5 minutes is up at this point. Thank you so much. Anyone else like to make any comments? Please step up, state your name, address.
Hi, good evening. My name's Randy Lovechuck from 79 Park Drive. I'm kind of backboning off of what Andy over here already said about the anti-bullying campaign that went on. I have 2 kids that go to the school. My daughter's in 1st grade, my son's in 3rd grade. My daughter got absolutely nothing out of what happened there. They spoke for 15 minutes, they danced for 30. I asked them what they say. Oh, I don't know. I asked, well, what did they do? They danced. But they danced kind of funny, is my daughter's interpretation of this. My son's was a little bit more involved. Yeah, they talked about not bullying, but one of the guys, I don't know what the whole group was, again, this is asking a 3rd grader, came up behind my son and started dancing. For what? What's the purpose of that? Why are they engaging with our kids? The whole thing makes no sense. When I saw the same pictures that all of you saw, I was disgusted by it. And I'm very happy that the principal spoke with us outside of here, that they're not going to be coming back here. But just like what Andy was saying, there's got to be a better vetting process, because a 10-second search on Google, all of this popped up. And I'm no internet wizard. If I could find it, our kids could find it, other parents found it, and it was really disturbing. And there's certainly better members of our community that could do an anti-bullying campaign, whether it's police officers, firefighters, CIA agents, you name it. We have everything in this community right here. We don't need to go outside to get somebody better than this group that was just out there with everything that they were saying. So I really hope in the future we can do better than this. We should be able to do better than this. Our kids deserve better than this, and I really hope that going forward we don't have these problems. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else like to make any comments?
Good evening, Savino Scarice, 18 North 19th Street, and also currently on Borough Council. Due to a recent development, some parents have been coming up to me, and they were concerned about our conversion to a turf field. They say that the NFL is trying to get rid of their fields due to increased injury to like tissues and joints. Also, they were concerned about environmental hazards and the fact they say that the fields only last about 8 years, so I didn't know if, due to these recent developments, if the board would still go forward with it or not. I wasn't as aware of it and do as much research till recently. But parents, my kids have graduated already, so they're not playing on there, but some parents wanted me to speak since I'm a liaison to this board. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Would anyone else like to speak?
Motion to close the public portion?
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. David, seconded by Mrs. Sears. All those in favor of closing the meeting to the public, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. The meeting is now closed to the public. Mr. Ganella, are we prepared, to vote on resolutions?
We are. There are 28 resolutions on this evening's agenda. Do any of the resolutions need to be voted on separately? Okay.
No.
So this is for resolutions 1 through 28 on the agenda. David?
Yes.
Drogan?
Yes.
Ferrara?
Yes.
Habethar?
Yes.
Ladati?
Yes.
Tiers?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Panici?
Yes.
Motion's carried unanimously.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ganella. Do we have a need to go into closed executive session?
Before we do that, just a quick question. I know we had talked about the turf field question coming up before. Do we have any information to give back to the public regarding
Yeah,
that
so-
question and the concerns? Because I've heard it myself from people.
Yeah, those turf talking points that I sent to the board last Friday, I just made a note to myself to sort of polish them up. I could put them on the referendum page to the website, but I could also email them out separately as part of a superintendent's update about responses to those concerns. I'll do that in the upcoming weeks. Okay. Yep, you got it.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Sure, no
Yeah.
problem. Okay, Mr. Ganella, yes, there's a need to go into closed executive session, correct?
there's not.
Oh, no? Okay. If not,
Motion to adjourn?
a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. David, seconded by Mr. Haber. Are all those in favor of adjourning? Please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Meeting is now adjourned.